very simple and easy to work on. So it supports languages that anyways all of you guys have already been working on. So how many of you have worked on VB 6.0? VB 3, 4, 5, 6? Any VB? VB 7.0, how many of you have worked on? 8.0? 9.0? You have worked on 8.0? Not 7.0, 8.0. Okay, 9.0? No one. So does this sound weird? Have you ever heard of VB 7.0? Or VB 8.0? Have you heard about it? So do you agree it exists? I say it doesn't exist, so you agree with me? So you're partially right and partially wrong. Right because it exists, wrong because it does not exist the way VB 6.0 used to exist. So in VB 6.0, VB was completely object based. After VB 6.0, Microsoft came out with a .NET framework. So one very important feature of the .NET framework is that any language that is supported with the .NET framework has to be object oriented. It has to be object oriented. So VB 7.0, I mean after VB 6.0, every version of VB was object oriented, and hence it was not named as VB 7.0, 8.0 separately. It was termed as VB.NET. So if you get to know here VB.NET, basically the first version, first release was nothing but VB 7.0. So this is how VB progressed. So with .NET now we don't go to languages. We just say it's a part of .NET. So C#.NET, VB.NET, whatever. Any object language, object-oriented languages which are supported inside the .NET framework right now, they are part of the .NET stack. So if you start working on .NET, as I said, writing code is simple. Most of the stuff inside .NET is all drag and drop, so you don't actually need to write code for everything. When I say drag and drop, I mean that all things that are very common, that all of you use while writing applications. For example, say login control or having a authentication or whatever. .NET has already pre-packaged everything and given to you inside a tool called Visual Studio. So if you want to create an application in .NET, for example, you want to write a calculator. Alright. So how do you do it in C? You go and write your C in C out function, whatever, you code everything, you have the graphics programming, you do graphic.h, have different functions, draw lines, draw rectangles, draw shapes, whatever. That is how you see a calculator, right? Now if you want to do it inside .NET, how do you do it? You will go ahead and say, open Visual Studio, a tool that all of you will have access to. Go start Visual Studio, select the .NET framework that you want to do, select the type of application, whether it's for the web or whether it is a Windows application, and then you will see an interface which is very different from your blue screen that you see in C and C++. You will see an environment where you will see a toolbox on the left. If I have time, I'll show it to you. And from the toolbox, you can just drag and drop all common controls. For example, things like a button, or things like a label, or things like a image box, or things like actually embedding an image, or things like a login control, authentication control. All of this you can just drag and drop, have it on your project, and you're almost done. Obviously, functionality and logic you have to write. Otherwise, everyone would love to use .NET, right? If it does everything. So you have to write the logic of what happens when someone clicks on this button. So you have to define events. We call them events where, for example, a button click is an event for a button. So you have to define. If the user clicks on this button, what happens? So if your application is very basic, not very complicated, you can actually do it using properties only. However, if you know VB, then it's again a child. So that is how you get started. So this 5 minutes that I spent is basically for all of you who have never seen Visual Studio. Go ahead, open this, try, and it's like something that you would learn by using it. If you don't write a single line of code, the beauty of .NET is you can still write a program and still run it without an error, because you are just using repackaged stuff. So you can do that also. So that is I would suggest the way you should go ahead and start using it. Once you have a feel, then you will try to understand, get to know what .NET is, how to use it, what are the languages, and maybe sometime later we can have a session deep dive on .NET. Now coming back to Silverlight. So how is Silverlight connected to .NET? Right? It's a question that I left you guys on. Now, as I said, .NET is a platform that lets you write applications. Okay, so using .NET, you can write applications, define events for a button click, define whatever is going to happen when XYZ happens and what happens. However, designing interface still remains a challenge. Though obviously it's much easier as compared to C and C++, but still it's a challenge because you can just do as many things. You're getting it? I mean, whatever exists, you have to use it. Every time, obviously, you would have a feel, an urge that, I want something something extra. I want this button to be maybe a hexagon with this particular color or this and that. This flexibility exists in .NET, but slightly difficult. You have to maneuver and actually work hard to get it done. So what Silverlight lets you do is, Silverlight lets you design the interface, the front end of a website, for example, a web application, in a design studio. So there is a studio called Microsoft Expression, for example, where you actually can go ahead and design your applications. Now when I say design your applications, I don't need to be a technical guy. I just need to know what I want to see on my application. You must have used Photoshop, page editors and stuff like that, right? Photoshop you use, normal Photoshop? So that's what? That's a design tool. So Expression similarly is a design tool with a slight difference, which I'll tell you now. So you have to just go ahead, start using Expression, start using designing your interface and have buttons and videos, whatever, and then you're good to go. The advantage of Expression is that, or for that one, Silverlight is that it works in conjunction with the Microsoft .NET framework. So this same design file that you have created inside Expressions, you can actually make use of in the Visual Studio environment. So imagine this, you create an application, I mean you first of all perceive an idea. You think that okay, I'm going to create a website for my own. Say, what's your name? Vivek. So for example, Vivek wants to have a website. So this is I'm going to create a website. There's a front end and there's a back end, right? In the back end, the right code. Front end is how the website is going to look like. So what does he do? He goes and starts using Expression, opens Expression and says I want to create a Silverlight website which is Silverlight enabled, and thinks of what he wants to see on the interface. So for example, buttons, and then he wants to have labels, and he wants to have a